Welcome to another episode of Real BMX Racing the podcast. Today's show is sponsored by Eddie's Blocks, Answer BMX, 110% Nutrition, Wrenchman Wheel Builds. With a special shout out to Toby Henderson over at Send It. Today's guests are track operators from Rum River BMX, Alissa and Josh. Welcome to the show.
So let's go with the history. What's the history of the track? How long has it been there?
So the track actually opened as an outdoor track. We think about 2000, and really when it first started as an outdoor track, nobody really wanted to ride on it. It was a sand pit, and years of working on it, a lot of work. Kevin Riedemann really took it from the sand pit that nobody really wanted to ride on to one of the top tracks in the country as an outdoor track.
They mowed the corners.
Yeah.
Mowed the weeds.
And then started working with the city on getting the building built. And in 2015, we opened as the indoor track that we are now. So it's still the same starting hill. We still got the roof over the starting hill that was there when it was an outdoor track.
Wow.
The building got built right over the top of the existing track. So as far as I know, we're the only indoor facility that was built over an existing track, or the only
Right.
indoor.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, when you guys said that, I was thinking that you guys just went to a whole nother building or
No.
put a track in a building.
Plopped it right over
on top.
right over the track.
That's look at Shannon's like, look, see, I knew it could be done.
It could be done, yes.
Yeah, so like a lot of people think, indoor track, and they picture like the horse barns or, the other indoor tracks that are around the country. But, we're a 74,000 square foot building with 21 garage doors around it. So when it's nice outside, we pop all those doors open, and it kind of turns into
gives you the feel.
That feel of being outside. You got the breeze blowing through, you just got shade, and even though it's Minnesota and right now it's, cold outside, during the summer, we still get hot, so it's nice having that shade over the top of the track during the summer months too. So
you guys don't shut down like at all though, as far as like, because you're indoors. So the December 15th to the 1st, right?
Yeah, so
a nice 2-week break other than this year.
So we had, I think 2 years ago, we had a couple of days in the summer we had to close because the heat index was still too high inside the building even. We'll stay open some of the days that the outdoor tracks are closed, just because since we got the shade, we don't have to worry about quite as much of the heat. And then sometimes we'll have to close just because there's too much of a snowstorm. Like our kind of rule is, if our volunteers can get there, we'll open the doors.
Okay.
So if it's safe for our volunteers to get there, we'll open up. Other than that, for the most part, we run. So yeah, it's pretty much 50 weeks out of the year we're running.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So did the city pay for this building?
Yeah. So the way kind of our agreement worked, really it got done on the handshake agreement that we'd make it work. And so officially the city owns the building. When it was built, there's a lot of help that we got from our BMX community, people that had ties to the concrete industry, plumbers, electricians, stuff like that, to help knock down that price. But it was still about $2.6 million when it got built. And the city took on the expense of it and did a 40-year lease agreement with us to get in there. And it's kind of back end loaded. So like year one, our lease was like $4,500 a month. And it goes up like 2.5% every year. So like right now our lease is like $7,400 a month. By year 40, it's almost $14,000 a month. And so we're constantly looking at ways to improve the program, save
right. I'm like soften that blow as the time goes.
Right, exactly. But it helped get the doors open. It helped get us, up and running. We've been running as an indoor track since 2015, and the track's been profitable every year. We really don't get much as far as handouts from the city. The only thing we get for free from the city is the one faucet that we use to water the track. Other than that, we pay all our own. So our water for concessions, our water for the bathrooms, all of our heating bills, electric, our internet, all that stuff, we pay for that.
I want to talk about a heating bill.
Yeah.
Try heating a building that size.
I can only imagine.
It's pretty close to $6,000 to $7,000 a month during the winter months for our heating bill. But yeah, so it's our metrics are pretty insane. You know, we got to make about 400,000 a year just to break even, and we do it. You know,
right.
We've been staying in the positive every year,
along with making improvements along the way.
Right.
So not only like putting money aside,
right,
spending it
in the building, spending it. Right. I mean, that's kind of our thing is that with the riders, you know, paying their fees and whatnot. We do our best to turn around and invest that money back into the track.
Right.
Well, I'm glad you told me what it cost and the square footage. No, because me and my mother were just watching some races at the track. I wanted to show her the track, and I was like, "These are the guys we're going to be talking to today. Look at this track." You know, she was just sitting there like, "Oh my god!" She was like, "How big is that?" Because I was just showing her another indoor track that wasn't as big and as nice.
Sure.
And then she was just like, "Holy crap! Like, I wonder what that thing cost to make." And I'm like, "You just told me. Now I can tell her."
And it was a good deal back then,
Yeah.
right? Like we just had to have our roof replaced. Thank goodness it was an insurance thing, but I think didn't the roof cost as much as the building did?
The roof was over $1 million for a hail claim that they had to replace the whole roof on the building. But yeah, I get calls all the time from track operators around the country looking to do the same thing. And the tough thing in today's dollars, it's probably $4 or $5 million to do the same size building we have now.
Yeah. Right.
And just to have the rider base, like we kind of need, when we first opened the building, we figured we needed 100 riders minimum every day we were open to just break even.
I remember we were like crunching the math, you know, in concessions. Like if we can sell $250 worth of food, how much of that is profit? Like we had to go to the city with these kind of numbers, and it was basically just kind of like a wing and a prayer.
Right.
It was gonna fly.
Wow. So did either one of you guys used to race?
No. So I actually, I live close by the track, and I was actually a Cub Scout leader for a number of years, and we had some families that were involved in BMX and Cub Scouts, and my kids wanted to try it out one day, and one of the guys that was involved heavily in Scouts and the track, Aaron Zidane.
Oh, that's how we started.
He came out and he's like, "Hey, if you guys want to come try it, come on out. I'll let you boys rip around the track a little bit." And they got hooked instantly.
Fun, it's easy,
right?
Not a lot of commitment, and now here we are.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I love when people call this sport a cheap sport to get into.
Yeah,
I just shut my mouth and just like,
right.
Yeah,
all right.
The first year it might be.
First
year.
Right.
I remember everybody's like, "Oh yeah, you know, you can do as much or as little as you want." And I hear all these people with these expensive bikes and traveling. And I'm like, "There's no way we're ever doing that."
We'll just race rum. We don't need to go anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean,
next thing I know, I'm in Belgium. You know.
Right.
Yeah, I think we were at 10 nationals last year, and my son just qualified for Worlds on his cruiser. So
nice.
Oh, really?
We got that whole experience going on this year. So
very cool. So
are
you'll
you guys,
be in Rock Hill.
Are you gonna do class 2? Are you gonna go to Virginia and try?
Nope, I told him he gets one crack at it. So if whatever he qualifies for on that one crack is what he gets in on, and he got in on cruiser. So
there we
I don't
go.
know if I believe you, Josh.
I
don't know.
You'll never know, right?
Right.
How many volunteers do you guys have?
So officially, the way we're structured, we got about 60 volunteers on our volunteer roster.
60?
Yeah.
60.
Now let me put some things in
awesome.
perspective.
Okay.
So Alissa and I are a co-track operator. We got a board of 9 people, and each of our board members really wears their own hats along with being part of the big picture. Everybody from, our registration director, our community outreach, concessions director, everybody has their own specific lane, plus being there for the big discussions, like what should we do for this event, or, what should be the big next project we do, or, those kinds of things. So I really weigh both of those things equally, their responsibility for their own specific job. Like Samantha does all of our communication stuff. So the stuff you see online on our Facebook page and stuff like that, most of that's coming from her.
Wow.
So off scene, she's doing all that kind of stuff while still being involved working as a volunteer as well. On the flip side, we operate almost 7 days a week. We're practicing 2 days a week. We're racing 2 days a week.
Clinic.
Usually we have 1 day a week that's clinics. We usually have the other 2 days. There's so there's always something going on. And on our race days, we need to have about 22 volunteers staffed to cover concessions, registration, the live broadcast,
track officials.
Yep. Everything that we got going on at the track. So to not have burnout of the volunteers, we need a big pool to pull from.
Right. So one thing I wanted to ask you about that though is with the volunteers and everything, do you have to do like you have to do a commitment, like a 2-year, 4-year commitment, or
so
we rope them in. Like, we just need you 2 hours. Just 2 hours.
So we do with the board, like the board's structured where, you sign on to be a board member. It's a 2-year commitment to be on the board. Okay. Alissa and I are appointed to our positions along with our treasurers, an appointed position. So that can kind of come and go as the board sees fit, or we get tired of the position kind of thing. But as far as the volunteers go, really what we're looking for with them is we try to schedule everybody like 2 shifts a week, and
some want to do more and some want to do less.
Yeah, we use an app.
Treat it like a business. I mean, we schedule our volunteers. We have them put their availability in on an app, and then our volunteer coordinator goes through and releases a schedule, and
then we do like quarterly swag. Like, we keep track of hours that they work, and if they've worked a certain criteria, we give them quarterly swag so they can get like a sweatshirt or t-shirt or
that's really cool.
Water bottles,
whatever, so that kind of show our appreciation back.
So are the volunteers riders themselves, or have kids that ride, or?
Yeah, the vast majority are either riders themselves or their kids ride. We got a couple volunteers like Cliff. Cliff's been in the sport longer than any of us. His kids are grown adults, but he's still out there doing our top staging almost every day we race.
He's like our one true volunteer. He doesn't have a horse in the game.
He was out. He did our last race of the year, and bless his heart, his wife wanted to take him downtown to a nice restaurant, to a nice hotel for the night for New Year's, and he's like, I got to break it to her. They're doing a New Year's race. I got to be at the track. I got to be there for the first race of the year. So he bailed on his wife's plans, and he was at the track for the New Year's race. So Cliff's awesome. Like, he's a one of a kind.
We really try to reward our volunteers. I mean, since it takes such a huge group of riders or parents to do this, that we comp them as well. If you're scheduled to work the night of a practice, your riders practice for free. If you're scheduled for a race, all your riders, no matter how many classes they're doing, race for free that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
The other thing is we're kind of blessed here in Minnesota. There's 10 tracks in the state of Minnesota, and this time of year, of course, all the outdoor tracks are closed down. And so we get several of the volunteers from the other tracks that will come help work at our track during kind of the off season for their track, which helps give them kind of something to do and helps us out, because
kind of alleviates.
It's a way busier time for us too. So it helps kind of backfill some of our volunteering too for this time of year too. So
wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Right, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, wow, you guys. So I wanted to ask too. So how is it? Because as far as I know, nobody actually promotes or markets it. Like, so where we live at in the city where I'm at, if you didn't BMX ride, you wouldn't know there was a track there. No one really knows about it. So do you guys actually like promote it some sort of way with that many riders? Do you have to promote it some sort of way? Or?
We do a ton. So we're heavily involved in the school districts. We're actually in community ed programs in several cities right around our area. So twice a month, we run actually community ed clinics because they're big enough that we can't do it all on one night. So we have to split up the school districts between 2 nights.
Wow.
It's an awesome way to get new riders in the building.
Yep, we do quite a bit now with boosted Facebook posts. We're on almost every community chat group site that you can find on Facebook and Instagram and stuff. So when we got some big event coming up, we're pushing it out to all those groups. We get in every parade we can get in. Anything we can do to get in front of people, like downtown Isani, they have this Jubilee Day thing that they do.
Oh, yeah.
So we do a Strider in the street deal where we just set up cones and ropes and have all the Strider kids come out and just race out on the pavement,
Nice.
get
Just
exposure.
exposure.
You know?
Right.
People walk by that have never seen it. I mean, even just promoting it within. On Tuesday nights, we do a bring a friend night. If you bring somebody that's never been in the building, that rider and you will practice for free that night. So just constantly trying to, bring in fresh faces.
Right.
So you say that you say that you have other tracks calling you guys sometimes, like, because you're the top guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever call any other tracks? Are there any other tracks that you guys are affiliated with that you could call to, get advice from, or just run some stuff by, or do you even need to at this point?
I don't want to sound like we don't. We've got to. No, I don't.
You don't have to.
I mean, everybody might come to you. We got a track here that way too, where everybody's like,
people call us. I mean, even USA, USA BMX will put us in touch with a track operator every now and again.
Right.
A lot of times it's them just wanting to know like how we can make an indoor work. A lot of places are trying to do that, and I think once they hear the numbers and whatnot, it's tough.
We do a lot of bouncing off each other in Minnesota too.
I would say, yeah, we probably communicate more with our own tracks.
I know a lot of states kind of have this mentality of like, don't talk to that track, like they're our enemy, where like Minnesota really is a big family.
Josh will give away all of our secrets. It doesn't bother you.
No,
I feel like that's how it should be,
exactly. I look at it as the more successful BMX as a whole is, the more successful we are, And if there's something we've figured out with our group, like, hey, we got 50 weeks of the year to figure it out. Right. Most of these other tracks, they're running like 5 months out of the year. And the hard thing, like the outdoor tracks have, like every spring, they're starting over. Like their volunteers, their rider base, everybody else, like has just had half a year off. Right. And now they got to start over, like kind of build back up again. Yeah. Where like, if we can
firing on all cylinders,
if we can like bounce ideas off each other and stuff like that to try to help make it easier for everybody, like let's do it, So I'm a fan of collaborating with everybody and even working with anybody, as far as ideas and stuff like that, rather than being like, nope, don't go there, or, don't promote their event. Like, right. I've heard that some of the other states, like, don't talk about their state qualifier. We want our state qualifier to be bigger. It's like,
we want every single one of them to
I don't care if we have the smallest state qualifier, like as long as kids are going to the state qualifiers,
Right. Exactly.
So you guys did you guys want to take over this track?
So that's interesting.
We were both board members.
Yeah. So at the time, Kevin Riedemann was track operator. He kind of started taking a step back. His kids that were racing were kind of taking a step back from racing, and life started getting in the way for Kevin and stuff. And there was an interim track operator, Paul, that was kind of there, and he decided it wasn't his role, and he stepped back, and board started kind of looking at what the options were. And at the time it was kind of like, do we do Alissa or Josh? And we're like, let's both do it.
Yeah.
And honestly,
I'm not doing this myself. Like I have been on the board long enough to know that it's a huge commitment. Yeah. I mean, not even just as a TL, being a board member is probably just as much of a commitment at our track, but it's like, I'm not taking this on by myself. And I think you kind of were in the same situation.
The cool thing is, Alissa and I, we came on in 2020 and
February of 2020. Remember what the world was like.
Right.
And then like 2 weeks
that's
later.
what I was getting at. Yeah.
But we're a good like yin and yang for each other, like I'm much of a numbers guy.
I'm the pretty face.
I'm a big picture, like want to push everything. Like,
Yeah.
let's go for a $10,000 pro-am. And she's like, let's shoot for a $5,000 pro-am, you know, like, she kind of keeps things reined in a little bit. And, but between the two of us, like bouncing ideas off each other when problems come up, like being able to work together on stuff rather than just having to be the one person to make the decisions.
Right.
It's awesome having both of us. And then of course, having an awesome board of people to discuss things with too.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
I see so many tracks out there where it's like a track operator trying to do everything, or maybe it's him and his wife running everything. And it's like, there's no way we could operate that way.
No. Just in our concessions alone, we have like a restaurant in our track.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's no way that just a couple people could do this.
Right. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't have to Google this track.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
he's going.
So
he's going in
when I
just for the
go, so when
restaurant.
I go to nationals, everybody laughs at me because when I go to nationals, between the motos, I'm eating hot dogs, nachos, Slurpees.
Pizza.
You're our guy.
You know, I mean, all that. And everyone's like, you had a moto coming up soon. I'm like, dude, I'm not a rookie when it comes to this. I got it. Like, it is what it is. I can eat it all. You know, because if I don't, I'm like starving and it's just not worth it. So I'm just like, I got to eat
We'll
it.
keep you fed. There's many days that I think we feed the entire town 3 times in the course of an event. So yeah, it's.
Well, and the cool thing with our concessions, like we kill it. Like we have a awesome partnership with Burnix, you know, our Pepsi supplier. I think we sell a bottle of Pepsi cheaper than the gas station does.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like we don't do the huge markups so that
Right.
we're taking advantage of the
Because
customers.
we're not paying our
Like,
staff. You know, we're all volunteers.
we
so.
really want people to eat dinner at our track, and we want them to buy the stuff from our track rather
eat
than
something
stopping at
different every
McDonald's on the way in, you know,
Right.
so
Right.
it helps a lot with our sales.
Do you have any healthy items on the menu?
Are hot dogs healthy?
Yeah.
Not depending on. Sometimes you'd be surprised. So we have a lot of people that ask for the healthy, and then you turn on and you offer the healthy. And what's left over at the end of the event?
The healthy.
A couple of carrots with ranch dip, or
Yeah.
you know, your apples, or so it varies. I mean, we track everything. So you're like, well, here's what worked, here's what didn't. You know,
I get it.
event we sold 392 hot dogs. So you know, just to kind of prepare us for the next, we're constantly tracking things.
I mean, because athletes are constantly talking about eating good. And, you know, I went to Grants for the first time last year. I mean, as soon as you walk in the building, you just smell the grease from the food.
Oh, right.
I'm looking for something healthy. The healthy thing I think I found was a freaking cheesesteak because it had some tomatoes and some onions on it. I was like, you know, this is probably the healthiest thing. I mean, they had like corn dogs, and it was just like, I don't know, kind of blew my mind that you couldn't even find a piece of fruit inside this damn building, you know.
We do a lot of times at the big events, we'll have like the
fruit, granola,
parfaits, you know, that kind of thing.
Salads.
Nice. Very good.
A lot of wraps, you know, that kind of stuff. But
we do have our fair share of.
Do you guys race more than once a week?
Yeah. So like right now we're on our winter schedule. So we're practicing Tuesday, Friday, racing Saturday, Sunday. And so it's nice for like the out of towners because you can come in from out of state, pick up a Friday night practice, race Saturday, Sunday, head back home. There's a hotel 4 minutes from the track. You mentioned Rum River BMX. When you show up, they'll give you a 10% discount on your room.
What's the name of the hotel, man?
Best Western
Plus. It's pretty new, actually. It's a really
nice hotel.
Nice.
But yeah, so there's a lot of people. In fact, there's a track over in Wisconsin just this weekend. They actually booked a track rental after racing for their track and threw it out on their track page saying like, hey, first 25 people get it for free. And then after that, you got to pay for your spot to get in on the track rental. So like, I think they got 30 some people coming over and of course they'll all race that day and then do the rental and stuff. So it'll probably be a pretty good turnout, but yeah, almost every day during the winter months, we'll have 5, 6, 7 different states in the building. Because really, if you want to race indoors, it's either coming up to us or down to Steel Wheels. For anywhere in the North Metro area. So it's kind of a fun deal, you know.
Winters are fun. We're busy.
So you guys means you guys obviously you don't mind driving in the snow and all that stuff.
No.
Because I'm in North Carolina, they don't prepare the roads the same way like other states do. So when I got out here, you know, being from California, I'm just like, oh, they must have the streets like, you know, we should be fine. I went out there, had my car sitting sideways the first day in the ditch, and I'm just looking at it like I didn't even need to go out today. I don't even know what's going on.
We don't bat an eye.
Yeah, it was rough. Like, but yeah, so that's pretty cool that you guys matter. I mean, underneath, obviously, if it's safe enough for you guys to drive.
Right.
If we can get enough volunteers there, then we leave it up to the parents that are bringing the riders. Like if they think that they can go ahead and tackle the conditions, we leave it up to them. I mean,
I'm sure, like
anybody to show up. So.
And you guys are used to those conditions, so I'm sure just driving to the track is just like driving to work or driving to school or driving to the supermarket.
And
you know, so
been awesome. We've had like 2 inches of snow. So
really?
I actually haven't plowed my driveway yet this year, so
that's good.
It's been nice.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, it's been raining so much. Like literally, I'd say out of 52 weeks, it must have rained at least 40 weekends, just 40 weekends.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we had one track that literally like had no season. I mean, we could probably count the amount of races they had on one hand. I mean, it was just terrible. Yeah, they had to like scrap a whole series.
It can't be open.
Yeah. I know. And they were kind of hurting to begin with, you know, so they kind of needed that, but they didn't get it.
For sure they do.
Yeah. And that's one of the nice things that we're blessed with. Like people can plan on coming to us and they know we're going to run. Like, unless we get a 16-inch snowstorm or just crazy, like we're going to be open and running. And
that's one of the things that when we were traveling for nationals, I mean, I loved going to indoor venues. I mean, it wasn't always maybe the best track conditions and whatnot, but I knew that no matter what we're riding, you go to some of the outdoor tracks and you're.
Yeah, I like the indoor tracks that, you know, the ones that are just built right before the races. Then nobody really has an advantage, you know.
Sure.
I mean, every time you have a track at a hometown, there's always that hometown guy that just kills everybody, you know.
Well, especially in Minnesota, like we got some fast riders here, you know, and it's got to be intimidating already racing some of the kids from Minnesota, let alone come to their home state and try to race them where they're used to. So
I know.
I definitely think it hurts us sometimes at some of the big races.
And I'm sure there's kids that are there 4 or 5 days a week, right? You know, they're there for the 2 practices, they're for the 2 races, and they're for probably a clinic or something, you know.
And there's some that they live over an hour away and they're at our building every single day.
Wow.
Like, it don't matter.
Wow.
Those little Tyson boys, man. They don't stop. Yeah.
I mean, I think last year was probably the most that I practiced too. Like, I don't really do a lot of it, so but I made it to practice a lot more times this last year. So I'm working on it because we first started riding, me and Shannon over here, and we went to was it a Gold Cup that we went to?
Yeah, it was a Gold Cup in Georgia.
Yeah, so we went to a Gold Cup and we get out there and it's just like. He's like, come on, let's go out there and practice. We got to warm up. And I just looked at him like, dude, I don't practice.
I don't warm up.
Nah. And he just looked at me like, what? And I'm like, nah, I've seen a couple people go down and practice. I don't want to take those. I don't like those odds. Like, I'll just wait. You know? So
and here I am like counting my kids' practice laps. Like, what do you mean you're done after 4?
Right? See, so but I mean, I understand that it goes to, and he's like, well, then what do you do? And I'm like, my first lap. My first lap is practice. I see who I can pick off. Second lap, I get him. You know, it worked for novice. Like in the intermediate, not so much. So that's why I was like, I gotta start practicing. So, but you know, have you guys ever thought about actually just trying to race, or is it just something that you guys were just like, no?
I think I raced twice last year.
So last year we were kind of in a points battle. Not last year, the year before.
2022.
We were kind of in a points battle for the #1 track in the country. And so we got kind of towards the end of the year and I'm like, we need a race. And so it happened to work out that Alissa and I were in the same class. And I wanted to race her forever. And this girl is as competitive as they can be, right?
That's why I don't race.
And I announced. So I said, screw it. I'm announcing and racing. And so like I'm up in the gate. I got the headset on under my helmet. We're heading down the first straight. Alyssa's in front of me.
So rude.
Second corner, she's in front of me. Get to the third corner. and I just about push her off the corner and pass
punted
her.
me over the corner.
And like I was gonna do the play-by-play of it, and I thought no, because if I crash her, I can't do that play-by-play. So I just kind of edited it a little bit, but I beat her and get to the finish line, and I'm like, and that's how you do that. And that's the last time we race. She won't race me again. So
We didn't.
Did you say that's racing? Like everybody else? Yo, that's racing, bro.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
it's too much for me. It's too. I'll get hurt. Like I said, I'm competitive.
I enjoy riding the bike out there. My wife scores a lot of the time, and she does not like it.
She doesn't like you on the track
when I ride. So I always smile at her as I cross the finish line. And
yeah.
No, my number one thing that I like to do at the track is get new riders on the track. Like that's my thing. I don't necessarily need to get out there and race, but seeing new kids out there and being their cheerleader and being the one that's screaming and hollering for them, is my favorite thing to do.
Also, it's a different energy when you hear people shouting your name.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool in our building too, with having the grandstand bleachers on both sides, and when it's a packed event, like most of our single point days, especially this time of year, like 35, 40 motos is a slow day. Like people will be like, why is it so dead in here? And it's like, you don't realize like 35, 40 motos, most tracks across the country is like a really busy day.
Yeah.
To us, it's like almost like cricket.
Yeah. It's like we could get out of here in an hour today. Like we can knock this one out. But you know, we'll hit a lot of 70, 75 moto single point days.
What did we have on New Year's Eve? Our midnight race, 62 motos?
I saw that, man. That was awesome. That was amazing. So we had a New Year's Day race at our track, and we had about 30 motos, maybe a little over. And everybody's looking around like, oh, it feels like a national, bro. Like, yo, the energy. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it did it. Because, you know, we're not maybe 10, 12, 15 motos, you know, on a cold night, you know. So, yeah, that was awesome, though.
Is your guys' track all dirt?
Yeah, so our starting hill's concrete, our finish line's concrete, our corners are asphalt, and then we do soil tack even though we're indoors. Everybody's like, why do you guys spend the money? It's like keeps down our maintenance a ton. So it's way easier for the amount of bikes that we're putting over it, crashes on it, stuff like that.
Keep it glued.
Yep, so keep it glued and keep down on the maintenance on it.
Keeps down the dust in the building.
Right.
Yeah.
So how often do you do like track changes? Like
we try to do in a perfect world, I'd like to see 2 straights every year. Ever since COVID, we really kind of got screwed up with that schedule. Prior to COVID, it was kind of a religious, do first and second one year, third and fourth the next year. But COVID year, 2020, we didn't do anything. And then after that, it was kind of a hodgepodge, do a little here, do a little there. This last year we did a full rebuild. So,
did you have somebody?
You were closed.
You had somebody come in and do that for you guys?
Yeah, we had Lee Lewis, Tanner Sebesta come up and knock out the rebuild.
Nice.
We made it a little more complicated. We decided to swap out all the dirt in the building during the rebuild. So,
because did you know that dirt can die? Dirt can be dead.
No, I did not know.
I didn't know that either. Our dirt was bad, I guess.
Yeah, so the dirt in the building was really all just sand. It really had no clay content left in it. And like you think about it, like we don't have birds flying overhead pooping on it. We don't have worms growing in it. We don't have mushrooms growing. Like it's not getting rained on daily, you know, stuff like that. So there's nothing binding in the dirt anymore. Right. And so in that 2-week shutdown, we had 2,500 tons of dirt trucked out, new dirt trucked in. Lee and Tanner there with their crew rebuilding the new track. And we ran on December 15th, the last race of the year. And on New Year's Eve, ran the first race on the new track. And if you haven't checked it out, we got a time-lapse video on our Facebook.
I was just about to ask you if you did, because I would love to see that. That's crazy.
It's incredible. You should.
I swear, I was just about to ask that.
His ideas. He did a time-lapse, and it's pretty incredible to see all the dirt coming in.
Hell yeah, I want to see that. Yeah.
The sun rising, the sun setting in the windows. Yeah.
Trucks coming in and out, and
wow. It was crazy.
Equipment all over the place, and
looks like look like grand setup.
right?
That first night, you know, we knew before Lee and Tanner got there. We dropped the last gate, started like we had the whole place decorated for Christmas, you know,
like
Right.
Griswold Christmas.
like we had a 20-foot snowman set up in corner 2, you know, like all that stuff had to come down. And so we get all that stuff cleaned up, put away.
It
It's
was
like
an incredible night. We
9
had
o'clock
so
at
many
night.
volunteers stay and riders stay and just help us like get everything down. We had to plastic tarp stuff, you know, because of when the dust was coming.
But then
And
we
the equipment started that night.
We knew Lee and them were showing up at noon on Saturday. This is Friday night, and we needed all the dirt off first and second straight before they got there by noon the next day. So
they could hit that
there was like
running.
6-7 of us that stayed there, worked all the way through the night, just moving dirt, you know. And by the time they showed up at noon, like first straight was completely flat. There was a pile of dirt sitting there waiting for them, so they could start building right away. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out yet, check out the time lapse on our Facebook page.
They started was it Saturday at noon?
Yep, started.
And they were done Thursday night.
Yep, Thursday they were done with the new
It's
build.
crazy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got glue down on it. We also installed a strider gate, so now we have a gate for our striders to start from that help them into the third
That's what I'm
straight.
talking about.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. If you haven't checked it out, check it out.
Okay.
So there's no foundation to the building, correct?
Nope. I mean, there is like around the walls, and then there's posts in the middle, like so where the posts are, like there's 12-foot by 12-foot concrete balls underneath those posts. But where the actual track itself is, it's dirt down to China. So I remember one time back in the day, Lance came out from Dirt Trends to do one of our builds, and he was kind of brainstorming ideas. He's like, "Is there any conduit under the track?" We're like, "Well, where are you looking at?" He's like, "Second straight." He's like, "We're going to do a bonsai pit." And it's like, cool, because we don't have to worry about rain puddling in it. We don't have to drain it out anywhere, you know. So
he went like
it went like 2.5 feet below grade, you know, off an obstacle to the next obstacle, because we can, you know, we don't have to worry about other than like when we glue the track where that water is going to go. So
that's pretty
awesome.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
So you guys are having, what kind of events are you guys having this year? Do you have anything special going on? Do you have any nationals, any gold cups?
That's kind of an incredible.
So I've had a brainchild for a while. So if you remember pre-COVID, USA BMX used to do the President's Cup, and they always partnered it with one of the nationals, and it's kind of bugged me that they
broken in half of the country over here, half the country over there.
It kind of bugged me when they took the President's Cup away. And so I'm like, well, let's do the President's Cup at our track, and let's call it the Governor's Cup. And so February 16th to the 18th, we're doing the Governor's Cup at Rum. And it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event.
Nice.
Single point races.
Single point race fees. We're giving away 96 cups at the end of it. Wow. Everything from Strider to all of the NEG class groups, Pro-Am riders. There's going to be a cup for the trophy team, cup for the bike shop factory team. You know, it's all based on your points over the 3 days. So, and it's a holiday weekend for most school kids. So our hope is kids are going to come up for the weekend, make a 3-day event out of it. Like, we're going to have cool awards for each individual day of it. So we're hoping to make that a really big event, hoping to turn it into an annual event too.
A great time for people to get track time.
Yeah.
Up to our national that we're hosting in June.
So what do you guys charge for like a practice night or a race night?
So right now we're on our winter fees. Like I mentioned, it's $7,000 a month to heat our building. So right now a practice is $12. Racing cruiser class is $17. Racing opens or Strider is $12. And then during the summer months, we knock $5 off of all of that because we don't have to pay the heat bills then. So $7 for practice during the summer, $12 for racing.
We have the scores timing, so we charge $3 to turn your chip on.
Right.
What else do we got?
How does that work? Is that per practice, $3 every time you want to practice?
Any day you're there at the track, whatever's going on that day. So if if you're there for like a clinic in the morning, then you're there for racing, then you're there for team practice afterwards. It's just one activation for the day.
Okay.
So yeah, it's $3 a day that we charge.
And I like to tell people that money isn't going in our pocket.
Right.
I mean,
a little bit of it is,
but we also have maintenance with that too, you know,
Right.
slicing and dicing and putting in new loops. We just added.
Yeah, so we have timing at the bottom of our hill, entrance of corner 1, exit of corner 1, exit of corner 2, exit of corner 3, and the finish line. So
we kind of doubled the amount of loops that we had this year. So,
and I think we were like the second track in the country that put scores in. I think Goodyear beat us. I think we were the second track to install it. And, you know, when we first sold it to the board to do it, you know, our hope was to get like 5% of the riders to use it, and it would pay for itself in 2 years. Right. And I think right now we're averaging about 35% of the riders are using it every day. Like everything from your novice to your higher end experts, like they want to see their times. They want to know like how many laps is little Jimmy doing? Like,
yeah, we have kids that are like, I did 35 laps tonight, and we do little giveaways with it. Who had the fastest lap today at practice? Who had the most laps done today at practice?
That's awesome.
The thing sometimes to make it a little bit more fun for them.
Okay.
But yeah.
So with USA BMX, are you like guaranteed a certain amount of events within a certain amount of time? Are they like saying, all right, we're going to give you a certain amount of nationals?
You would certainly think so. But no. So we, of course, being an indoor arena, we're guaranteed to get a Gold Cup qualifier every year. This year, we're doing our Gold Cup qualifier with our state qualifier in April. Normally, so with being an indoor, we have to run our Gold Cup qualifier before the outdoor tracks can run one. So we have to run it like during their off season.
Yeah.
Right.
Normally, we run Gold Cup early, and then we wait and run our state qualifier during the summer months. But with the way the world schedule and all the stuff going on close to Minnesota this year, we opted to run our state qualifier early this year. So in the end of April, we're running our Gold Cup and our state qualifier together. So another big weekend before national coming up in June. So we're guaranteed to get that. The number one track in the state, of course, gets state finals. So we get that every year. And then we worked out a deal this past year with USA BMX to get a guaranteed 3 out of the next 6 years for the national. You know, every year we would put in a ton of work and
it's a thick packet you have to fill out. It's a big proposal.
And every year, you know, waiting for that phone call and then finally getting the phone call and getting let down, or, you know, okay, now we got it, you know, and it's like, I just want the peace of mind. Like, okay, now we know for the next 6 years, this is what's coming, whether it's this year, next year, the year after. Like, we don't have to do the work each year to try to put something together. Like, we just know over the next 6 years, this is what's coming. So we're super excited for our rider base, that's a guarantee coming. Our volunteer staff that works really hard for it. You know, because really the cool thing that we have for it, the national itself is a ton of work. And the extra stuff that we got to do, from renting the porta potties, we rent a big circus tent that we put up outside for it, the dumpsters, like all that stuff. Like, there's a ton of cost that goes into putting on a national, but it's the extra that we see from it. You know, the riders that come in and experience the national and like, hey, we could come here next winter when our track's closed.
Or even just like leading up to it, you'll see an increase in rider count afterwards.
And like some of that stuff, we really benefit from having a national, where some of the outdoor tracks don't get that benefit, you know, just with being the indoor that we are. So that's why we really wanted to push hard to get that multi-year deal, just to get that exposure.
Okay.
How could we get you to come down here and set one up for us? You know, we just need to borrow you just for a little while.
You need Mr. Numbers over here.
So I'll give you the flip side of that. Come up to us and see what we do. And actually, we got a track from Indiana coming up to us in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
We talked to them down at Grand's, and they're like, we want to learn from you guys. So they're coming up with their board, and they're spending a couple of weekends with us. Just want to learn like everything from how do we onboard our volunteers, how do we run our concessions, what program do we use for our live streaming, like kind of the ins and outs. And like we tell everybody, you know, we're an open door. Like it's easier for us to show you in our house how we do things
versus to like, you should do this when we get to your track.
Right. So I've heard that's an issue with a lot of tracks is the live streaming. I mean, it just doesn't take anything but this a lot of times, which is
that's what we started with. That's what we started.
We actually,
but there's a lot of tracks that don't even do that.
We actually started with a camcorder that the guy would go back home and upload it to YouTube.
Wow.
To upload it.
Yep. But yeah, and it's just evolved.
I've heard many tracks talk about you guys, like, you know, we need live streaming. Well, Rum River's doing it. Why don't you ask them? And can they call you up and ask you?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And honestly, you know, I think we've helped USA BMX have to step up their game at the nationals. You know, like for a long time they weren't live streaming the nationals at all, and they're like, Rum River does it every day they're open. Why can't you do it at the nationals? So then they started. When you come
to our track for the national a few years ago, like we're gonna stream this,
right?
Or use even our stuff.
Even like when we did Gold Cup finals, like none of the other Gold Cups were streamed, but ours was because we did it on our channel. You know,
right.
And now finally, USA BMX is kind of stepping up their game, and they got some toys that we don't have. And so I was actually down in Florida last weekend talking with Gmo. I'm like, all right, your instant replay feature, like we might want to put that into our system. Like, how do we get that incorporated? You know, so
because it's another tool. It's another tool not only for the riders. I've heard tons of riders saying that they go home and they rewatch their races, but also for those parents or grandparents, aunts and uncles, service members that can't be at our track can tune in and watch it.
And it builds the sport. It promotes it. It's like, you know, there's some people that'll probably just be on YouTube, just you know, scanning across and come across it like, oh, this is cool.
What's this?
I think they all should live stream because, like I said, it just takes a phone, you know, and an account. You know, it's not too much.
And we want to grow the sport, right? So why not grow it with something
we all do?
As easy as that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Huh. And I'm like, that's interesting. Because I'm in my head, I'm like, well, who does and who doesn't? Who, you know, how's it going to go down? But, you know, when it comes to I don't want to say famous people, but I guess pro riders, how many pro riders would you say you guys get a year?
Like that visit the track or
come out there practice. Obviously they can't race because.
Well, we try to get. I mean, we'll
throw some pro-ams out there.
Yeah. Okay.
Like Olivia Armstrong was up there last year for one of our girls' pro-ams. Johnny Vance is up here all the time now, working with Full Tilt. Elliot McGrath is right here out of Minnesota.
Oh, really?
Braden Kemple, of course, lives in Minnesota, so he's here. You know, so we get some exposure with the pros.
There to run a clinic. That's always been fun.
Yeah, we actually got Berlin Harris and his crew coming up in a couple of weeks to do a full super camp. So that's coming up in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Does it bother you guys when the announcer, I'm not going to mention his name, there's an announcer for USA BMX that every time he says Minnesota, he has to say it a little weird?
You know,
we're kind of used to it.
Yeah, because the more we travel out of state, the little more Minnesotans we sound. So it's a stereotype that definitely exists. So.
It was killing me. Like every time he said Minnesota, he had to say it the way he said it. I'm like, come on, man. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's real. A lot of the stereotypes you hear about Minnesotas are real, you know.
Oh, they're not.
They are. Like we drive our trucks out on the ice and fish in a little village built out on the ice. Like if you've seen the movie Grumpy Old Man, like that's Minnesota.
That's Minnesota. What so you said you do the announcing from time to time, right?
Yeah, I'm one of the announcers at the track for sure.
Do you give it away when you're announcing? Like, you know, you tell somebody they're in your hip pocket so that way I know someone's on me?
I do my best not to do that. I try to stay as neutral as I can. You know, I try because you always feel like you're under a microscope, you know. especially since we're live broadcasts, you know, people can go back and see like, look, you tipped him off. Like we try to be careful with that. And even like in our live broadcasts, our camera angles, like we don't pick up the finish line. We don't pick up the 30-foot line, like intentionally, because I don't want someone coming back to my head official and say, hey, look, he cut him off before the 30-foot line. Like our cameras don't pick it up.
You just answered another one of my questions.
Smart.
Thank you.
Smart.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was wondering why they didn't show the
like
line.
strategic water bottles set up so that the camera would have hit the water bottle and you wouldn't be able to see the finish line.
But no, I try really hard when I'm announcing not to say those kinds of things. Right. And, you know, I was taught by the best. I was taught by Kevin Riedemann. And the way I approach announcing is pretend the person's not watching. You know, say the moto number, say the class name, say who's on the track and how many people are transferring and who the transfers are. And if you can get those key points out, anything else you can get out is a bonus, you know. Okay. But get the facts out, you know, and if you can throw some color in there and a little entertainment value in there as well, great, you know, but
while being careful because you're not on a 5-second delay, right, Josh?
I've had a couple of times where I've said some things and all of a sudden I can feel my phone vibrating in my pocket.
You didn't just say that.
But they were like good in my head at the time and
poor execution.
Yeah, I usually catch myself.
But that's the first time I've heard somebody that announces saying that they're like conscious of how they announce the race to let not let people know.
Do exactly what you were saying.
I mean, well, I never thought everything about it. Yeah, I never thought of it as tipping off. I just assumed like
definitely
he just does it. You just need to get on it.
And I didn't think they did it on purpose. They just announced in the race. And if you're a rider that can hear the announcer,
right there on them.
I always know what's going on because
you're listening.
I'm not going to say good announcers, but there are announcers that let you know everything going on in the track. Yeah. And if you could listen and hear them, you don't have to turn around. You don't have to think about who's where. You just know.
The other thing kind of unique in our building, like our speakers are out over the crowd. So like even where I stand announcing, I can't hear myself on the PA system. Oh. And so like half the time I don't know really how well the speakers are even working because like all the speakers are out over the bleachers. So even when you're out on the track, like a lot of times you can't hardly even hear the music when you're out riding on a practice night because the speakers are just positioned to be up above the crowd. And we had a guy that was actually in production a few years back that helped us set us up with the system. And it's all on a delay based on where the announcer stands so that it projects at the right speed.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
technology.
Tech. And even like the speakers over by staging, they drop my voice down when the stager gets on the mic so that the stager can call people in. And then if they're not calling, then it brings my voice back up. And then like if the mic over in registration gets queued up, it drops both of us down. So like if they're calling for like a lost kid or something like that, awesome. They can override everybody. So yeah, it's a pretty high tech system.
Definitely. Do you guys, I mean, does USA BMX allow music to be played during a moto?
I don't know if it's allowed or not allowed.
It comes down to like that copyright stuff. I mean, we used to kind of have our stuff. You'd be on YouTube and they'd shut you down because your national
stream.
anthem
That's
was a copyright music.
Yeah, we always try like as soon as the gate drops. I don't know that there's any rule against music being played during a race. I know there's some tracks that just always have music running during their races to just kind of help fill some of that dead air. I try to talk nonstop while the race is going just to help keep the dead air down.
There's a reason why I don't announce.
Right.
Can you imagine? Oh, God.
But yeah, I and that's part two why our speakers all point away from us so that we can do the cool music. Like when we do rollouts for some of the Pro-Am races or stuff like that, we can have cool music playing in the building, but my mic won't pick it up. So we don't get copyrighted.
It's cool.
Yeah, they definitely take that serious, man. There's so many people I know that took a video of their son and tried to put it on YouTube, and there was the music playing in the back, and next thing you know, it's gone. You know?
Hold down.
Yep. Yeah, it only takes a couple of notes. Like it don't take much.
I know. Right.
And ours was the national anthem. That would get us in trouble.
That's crazy. You're supposed to pay for that. That's why.
Right. I guess I'm good. Did you, do you have any more questions, Shannon? Or
Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
I don't know.
I think the big thing is, if you haven't been there, come check us out.
I would love to, man. Oh my God, I would love to come up there. I mean,
Whether
indoor
it's
tracks is
coming
my
up for
thing.
a single point weekend, come up, check out our Governor's Cup weekend. Like, I'm hoping truly for that to be a national scale event for single point race fees. You know,
Josh is really, really, really excited about this Governor's Cup.
yeah,
I hope
like
it's huge.
I'm hoping to blow the doors off the place in the middle of February, and I'm hoping to make a good showing for the national. You know, we've always been pigeonholed as kind of a fringe national. You know, we've gotten like early May or September.
First week of school.
Yeah. And like, this is the first time USA BMX has given us a summer national. And like I said, you know, yeah, we're an indoor arena, but you pop all them doors open. We got tons of green space around. We got
Kids outside. Yeah. I mean,
huge area for camping, car parking, all that kind of stuff. So I think we're going to have an awesome Land O'Lakes National this year. So if you haven't been up, come up and check us out. Guaranteed to have a good time.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Awesome.
So do you guys get it? I mean, do people that go to the Best Western get a discount?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's a 10% off if you stay at that local hotel.
I always tell people too, like, go online, check Expedia, check those places. You know, you might get a really good deal. It's we're a super small town. That hotel is busy, but it's a nice hotel for a small little community.
And we're a big reason why they actually built in
They waited for us. Mm-hmm.
You know, there's some wedding venues and, you know, stuff like that in the area, but really our day in and day out operation helps them get heads in beds throughout the year. So
Really?
we were a big reason why they agreed to get built in Isani.
Wow.
So there are a lot of other hotels in that area, like for people who come in for the nationals?
Yeah, so
right.
You start spreading out a little ways and you can get to quite a few more. A lot of people get scared away. So like when you look at the stay and save hotels, you know, they're maybe 20 miles away. But
we don't live in LA.
Yeah, 20 miles in Minnesota is a 18-minute drive, you know.
Yeah.
You just have a couple stoplights. It's not 8 lanes of traffic.
Yeah, it's not like LA where 20 miles is 2.5 hours, you know.
Country roads.
So yeah, it's intimidating looking when you look at it on the map, but it's an easy drive, you know.
I just remember when I was in Rockford, it would take us longer to get to the hotel in Rockford than it would have at home to get to a hotel. And I was like, see, people, we're not that far, you know.
Right.
It's deceiving.
Okay. Well, I'm good, Shannon. You got anything else?
Nah, nothing I could think of, man. You guys covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And you guys are making me want to come up there, man. Really.
It's like I want to ask a lot more, but I know you guys are, doing your blitz this week, so it's like I don't want to steal anybody else's thunder on what they're going to be asking. So I'm like, let me just limit what I'm going to ask. So, but I definitely would have had a lot more questions for you guys.
Well, let me just ask one.
Just work on getting new riders in your building. That's, I think, one of the number reasons why we're successful is constantly trying to get that new riders in the building.
Yeah.
I mean, how often do you? I was gonna say, how often do you guys come across like a duo as far as like TOs? It's usually just one person, right?
So even in Minnesota, like our closest track, they got a duo, Crow River, Dan Isaacs, Jason Kemple, they're co-track operators.
Okay.
It seems like you're starting to see more.
A little bit more and more. I highly recommend.
Yeah.
Not being able to bounce ideas off of each other, or like you tackle this, I'll tackle that. It's a lot.
Well, and it's the little things too. Like we build all of our own multi-point trophies, or we outsource, like we do plaques and stuff like that. But like, we figured it out a few years back. Like rather than ordering the big 4-foot tall trophies for state finals,
having them shipped and
like
all that.
We can buy the raw pieces and build them ourselves. And so
we build all of our
Get the hell out of here,
trophies, so bouncing those ideas off each other.
Who
Like
does
we have
that?
up above registration, we have a little sweatshop where
we make our own swag.
yeah,
We
we
make
got
our
a
own
heat press
sweatshirts,
for doing our
t-shirts, that
sweatshirts,
sort of
t-shirts, and stuff.
Man,
And
you guys
How
definitely
about
got
the
the blueprint.
middleman, right?
That's
Right,
bananas,
right.
man.
You guys got the blueprint. I'm like thinking about all the TOs that I know. I'm like, y'all gonna have to start watching these.
You got a
So,
garage, you start wrenching on things.
Yeah, what don't you guys? Do you have a pro shop in there also?
yeah, full tilt set up full time in our building.
Oh,
I was playing, bro.
Yeah,
Are you
full tilts in
serious?
there full time. We actually worked out a deal this last year with Haro. We replaced our whole rental bike fleet.
What do we get? 70 bikes?
Yeah, so most people think
Ooh.
rental bike, they're like, 5-6 rental bikes. Like I think we have 70 between Strider all the way up to the cruisers and double XL pros. I think there's 70 bikes in our rental fleet, and there's a lot of nights that all of them are out. And I talked to some track operators, and it's like, you guys have more rental bikes than I have riders on the track on a practice night. And it's like, we need them,
Gotta keep working, getting those new riders in.
Yeah.
I think last year we finished the year with a little over 500 one-day trial memberships, and that's what it takes, get them in the door, get them exposed to the sport, and turn them into members, a long time ago, I learned for every 5 people that try the sport, 1 will sign a membership. For every 5 that sign a membership, 1 will actually become a racer. For every 5 that race, 1 will race 5 times. For every 5 that race 5 times, 1 will still be a racer at the end of the year. For every 5 that are a racer at the end of the year, 1 will be a racer for many years to come.
Right.
And if you actually look at that metric, you got to get a lot of heads in the door to keep growing the sport,
Yeah.
And those numbers kind of ring true, you got to get them in the door. And when I look at some of these tracks, like you're in a town of 500,000 people,
We're so small.
and you got, 60 members at your track. We're in a town of 6,000 people. And
you got to look outside your neighborhood.
Yeah, you got to branch out. Like people are willing to drive an hour to get to a track. Now, granted, if you're out in LA, an hour is like 4 miles away. So
right.
And we had a grandpa drive last night. We had a grandpa drive, 30 minutes one direction to go pick up his grandson, and then another hour to come to our track because some little kid at his grandson's school that was telling him about it. And they'll be back.
Let me ask you this about the rental stuff. Do you have like similar helmets for everybody, or are they just
same thing? We through full tilt, we got to deal with fly. So I think
we got a lot of helmets.
There's got to be close to 100 helmets.
So all the kids, like you could immediately look on the track and see that kid is on a rental bike and a rental helmet, and you know that he's a new rider, right?
Yep.
Does that help you? Does that help other people like look out for that guy, or for you to like approach the kid?
And all of our track staff have radios in every corner. Like on our practice nights, like there's no stopping on the track. There's no cutting the track. Like it's 8 in the gate at a time. Like I think Tuesday night practice, there was 142 riders. Like, so it's gate drop, 8 riders go, gate drop, 8 riders go, gate drop, 8 riders go. Like,
so if we got a rider down, they radio it, they hold the gate, that sort of thing, get them up and rolling.
But then like the gate operator will hop on and say, hey, in the gate now, I got a new rider, so you can kind of tell when there's someone new. So then the corner workers know, because we staff on a practice night, there's someone in every corner and in the gate, because usually there's 2 racks on the track at all times on practice nights, because it's nonstop. We'll even have somebody from Reg go over and kind of staff the bottom of staging to kind of regulate the flow going up the hill, because the hill gets so congested.
Doesn't get trampled,
Wow.
And then we have all our beginner league riders that we have out there, and we put them in a specific jersey as well. They get a jersey when they join the league, and so that jersey stands out with being a new rider as well.
So how long is the practice sessions?
Tuesday nights are 2 hours. Friday nights is 2.5 hours. So Tuesday 6 to 8, Friday 6 to 8:30.
Then an hour of registration on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, and I get a lot of track operators ask us. In fact, talked with a track operator from Rock Hill one day. You guys run your registration for an hour, and then you're starting to race immediately after. and I'll see you guys have like 300 riders there. How do you do it? That's just how we do it. Like,
we don't know any different.
We open registration, we close registration, we post motos, we start strider racing, then we start at the big track racing, you know, and
every now and again we have a little hang up, but for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, we'll a lot of times, you know, have 400 entries, and we're able
just
to,
one person that's doing the entries, as you know,
Wow.
as the riders are.
So how are trophies distributed at the end of the night?
we do tickets at the finish line. So we ask for volunteers to come do ticket crew.
So they get their ticket, they go get their trophy
and
right
they go
away.
to
So
a different line and just turn in their ticket, and they can get their biker bucks, their saver stamps, or their trophy award of the day.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of, we hand out trophies over in our rental cage area, where we got our rental bikes and stuff. So whether you're bringing back a bike or a helmet or picking up your trophy, it's all in that same area. So we got somebody that's actually staffed there full time on race and practice days, taking back their bikes and stuff like that. Little striders that are borrowing a strider for the day, you know, that kind of thing too. So
this sounds like a huge operation, bro.
Right.
Like, you are blowing my mind with this stuff, man.
It's like it is a business
and
run by volunteers.
And the craziest part, when you think of it, like, we all have full-time jobs. We all have real jobs every day of the week that we do, and we're all doing it for the love of the sport. Like, we're not paid track operators. We're not paid board members. Like, we get comp racing for our kids for doing what we do, but when you compare that to the hours that we put in, like, just look how much we've messaged back and forth to set this up, you know, I did that while I was down in Sarasota with my son for the national, you know. It's, we're definitely not doing it for the reward side of it, you know. But it's really cool to say what we're a part of, you know, to be able to be out somewhere in the country and say, hey, you know, we're track operator for Rum River BMX. Like, it's cool to hang your hat on that. And to go in that building when the atmosphere is just pumped, and, you know, you can feel the energy in the building, like that New Year's race.
It's what keeps you going.
Yeah. I've wanted to do that New Year's race for years.
Another one of Josh's ideas, right, Tim?
And I always got shot down. Like, nobody wanted to give up their New Year's party night, you know. And then finally,
I left the wedding early to come back to that race.
Finally, this year I got traction for it, and everybody's like, well, if we get a decent turnout, maybe we'll do it again. And, you know, people start messaging that they're coming in from out of state for it.
Every year we'll be doing it.
Yep. So it was a lot of fun, you know, and
it was fun. It was fun.
If somebody wanted to, like, rent the track, do you guys offer that too?
Yep. Yeah. So we do 2-hour rentals. It's 25 rider max for the rental. If you got more than 25 riders, you got to pay per rider.
It's like 15 or something.
Yep,
like
$15 a head for the extra riders. For that rental, it's $300 plus tax. And really, whether it's a birthday party, a team rental, an outside group coming in, and really right now, if you look at our calendar, I bet we got 30 rentals on the books.
Busy.
Wow.
We'll
only constantly see the emails coming in.
We only try to book out like 2 months ahead, just so that we don't like start stepping on our foot. If we have some big coach coming in, like Kate Wall's coming up in a month, she's going to do something for us. So
maintenance of some sort.
Yeah.
Leave a little bit of time for that to happen as well.
Right.
But yeah, like almost every single race day, some of them, there's 2 rentals after racing. So when the first one's done, the second one starts. Some days there's a rental before racing and 2 rentals after racing.
There's some Saturdays where we're there like 8 in the morning and things are wrapping up at 8 at night.
And there's no way you would be getting all these rentals if you guys were an outdoor facility, correct?
No, you know, and that's part of the cool side of it. You know, like a team can book a rental a month ahead of time, and they know they're not going to get rained out. They know it's not going to be too hot for their riders.
Yep.
And with us having the national, with us having a state qualifier, with us having a Gold Cup qualifier, with us having state finals, like, they know it's a track worth training on, you know, so they know it's a place that they're going to be at for sure. And if it's a team from Iowa that wants to come up for the weekend, like, they know they can do it as long as the roads aren't bad between here and there.
Right.
So would you have the concessions open when those
No,
guys have
usually
the
for
track
rentals,
We
we don't. We
Okay.
tell them if they want to bring in their own stuff, they can, and a lot will. They'll either order
Bring
pizza,
up whatever.
bring
you
in
want
crock
that way.
pots, or
Yeah.
that
Oh,
kind
wow.
of thing. So
Or
So I
they
just
load
have-
up on concessions before we close. That's happened a lot too.
So I just have one last question. How was the pizza up there?
Well, we had a taste test years ago, a blind
Oh, yeah?
taste test to pick the
Uh-huh.
best pizza. I think it's good. I really like the breakfast pizza, if I
Yeah.
do say so myself.
So when I come up there, I'm gonna want some pizza. So
No, you're not.
guys,
All
thanks
right.
so much for coming
Yeah,
through, man. I
thank
really
you.
appreciate this. This was
Absolutely.
awesome.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
look forward. Hopefully you guys can come on up.
yeah, thanks for having us.
Indeed. All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Take
Have